Welcome back to Focus Today. And hey, a delight to have with us today Kerry Lutz, expert on the economy and the founder of Financial Service Network, and he's also talked about many of the things that the president's up against and what we're dealing with here on the economy and everything else. Kerry, good to see you. How you doing, friend?
Hey, great to be with you.
And your website is what? FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com?
Correct.
All right, FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. All right, so what do you think of Trump so far?
Well, hey, he's a work in progress. Many years ago, in a former life, I was an attorney. I did a few minor cases for him. Got the opportunity to spend some time with him in his Trump Tower office and form some opinions. And, the guy is a workaholic, and, that can be beneficial.
Being that close to him, what do you think of his work ethic?
Well, workaholism can be a positive and it can be a negative.
Right.
It's been portrayed in society as a negative, but that, in my opinion, is when people really hate what they're doing and they're just working for money and really become miserable, unhappy people, then that's a negative. But when you're working and it's a calling and you love what you do and you don't sacrifice relationships and family, then it's a good thing, and you produce more, and you're doing what you were born to do, then it's a good thing. And so I think his work ethic, hey, the guy gets 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep per night. He's working 19 hours a day. And, well, if you believe in what he's doing, then it's a good thing. If you're frightened to death of what he's doing, then that's he's working 18 hours more per day than his predecessor did.
Yeah, pretty interesting. All right, let's take a look at some of this, because he certainly has tapped into a mood in America. I mean, he's called the blue-collar billionaire that tapped into middle-class America and won the presidency. What does that say?
Well, it says that look, there's two professions in America that require little effort and little challenge. One is working for the government, and the other is working for academia. And that's who's been running the country since probably Kennedy. People are fed up with it. The people who really make the country work, and that's people who get up at 7 in the morning, trudge off to work, and put in a full day, and maybe they work 10, 12 hours a day. Those people are fed up, and they're fed up seeing their money stolen and sent off to Washington and wasted on useless projects. Things like, hey, let's do a research project and find out why college students drink beer and why they have sex. I mean, two useless research projects that are purely a waste of money. People are fed up with these types of things, and they've had enough, and they wanted somebody from outside the system. Whether Trump is the right person or not, we're going to have to see. But I think Michael Moore said it best, that they didn't want to see it anymore, and they were just telling the elites, we've had enough of you. You've destroyed the country. You've taken the greatest wealth-generating system that the world had ever known, and you turned it into garbage, and we're just not going to take it anymore. And it's a repudiation of the ruling system that's been in effect in the United States at least since World War I, and enough is enough.
You know, part of this argument, Kerry, is, and of course you know this from your position, both the left and the right have talked about the middle class. President Trump during the campaign said that the left has always used the middle class as rhetoric and then got elected and ignored them. And that did resonate because a lot of the middle class jumped and voted for him. A couple questions come out of this. Number one, can you tell me who really is the middle class? And have they now woken up to the fact that they've been a pawn in the left's hand?
Well, I think, who is the middle class? you measure them in economic terms, there are people who, well, it varies from different parts of the country. Somebody in New York who makes $100,000 is part of the middle class. Someone down south who makes 100,000 could be upper middle class, but they're basically people who, have to go to work every day to make ends meet. Have children who worry about their economic future. They're more traditional people who are not in the upper tier of society. I guess you would call them the middle class, who have to make ends meet. And these people definitely sent a message. And, they kind of believed in the American dream and saw it slip away from them. Maybe they aren't the most highly educated, but had aspirations for their children to lead a better life and saw that slipping away. Hard to say exactly. So yeah. I think they are a lot smarter. Education is an interesting concept. The left seems to think it can only come from college, and the middle class knows that it comes from life experience at least as much as from a classroom, the school of hard knocks, if you will.
Right.
And they just had enough of the arrogance of the left looking down upon them and, really treating them as less than equal.
All right. The president has made some significant statements, not only during the campaign, but now he's made some significant moves as president to keep jobs in America. And we have seen incredible things happen just in the few weeks that he's been president, and even prior to him becoming president. Companies staying here and not leaving. He's looking at high tariffs and things like that. He is really interested in returning jobs. We're still waiting to see what some of this trade stuff's going to be. Do you think he's on the right track? Do you think it can be done?
Well, in terms of tariffs and such things, we saw this in the Great Depression. Trade wars don't work. But in terms of these trade agreements, they've been a bad deal for the United States. Look, before NAFTA, the U.S. had a $1 billion trade surplus with Mexico. Now we've got multi-billion-dollar trade deficits with Mexico. Since the onset of NAFTA, we've had a $1 trillion trade deficit with Mexico, and that doesn't include the drugs and the remittances, the $25 billion a year in remittances from mostly illegal aliens in the United States that go to Mexico. So it's been a raw deal for the United States. Canada, not so much. But Canada, we always had a multilateral trade balance with them. It didn't really change much with NAFTA. Mexico is the key. So it's got to be straightened out. In terms of talking with these companies, I don't think you can just address one company after the other and say, hey, invest in America. It's a great place. But in terms of dumping needless regulations that unduly burden business, treating business as the adversary, yeah, there's a lot to that will make America a better place to do business. We've got certain advantages, such as water. Most of the world does not have water resources. They have a shortage of water, and they have extremely high energy costs, which is the second highest cost after labor. Okay. And then you cut the tax rate. We have the highest tax rate in the world, corporate tax rate. Not that companies like GE and Apple and Google pay it, because they're incorporated in places like Ireland, which has a 15% tax rate. They're never going to pay it. GE hasn't paid taxes probably in my lifetime. They're not going to pay it probably as long as I'm alive. But me, I pay a tax rate, corporate tax rate, commensurate with my personal tax rate, and probably the rest of small business does. So get rid of or drastically reduce corporate taxes, and that will lead to a resurgence And I think that's the inducement that's leading these companies to invest here. But things like automation are going to undercut a lot of it. And look, it's the U.S. economy is like the aircraft carrier trying to make a U-turn. It's slow going here. It can only go so fast. But psychologically, look, depressions are economic, but they begin in the psychology. Events occur, they trigger psychological sentiment reactions, and then they reinforce the economic reactions, which reinforce that. So small business sentiment hasn't been higher than it is now in the past 12 years. So certainly these things help. Positive policies, cut back on regulations, all of these things can help. But there is an economic reality independent of the Trumpian vision, Trumphoria, as I call it, and we'll see what he can actually accomplish, as the cheerleader.
Before I take a break, Kerry, quickly, give a plug for Financial Survival Network. What do you do there?
Yeah, well, we talk about the economy. We have numerous experts from around the globe talking about issues that are important, whether it be education, societal trends, crime, Second Amendment, all sorts of things, probably similar things that you talk about, and how to empower yourself and how to really get yourself going in the new economy so that you don't become a victim and you're in command of your economic future.
All right, let me take a quick break. We're talking to Kerry Lutz. By the way, he heads up Financial Survival Network. You can go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com is his website. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
All right, welcome back to Focus Today, and we're talking to Kerry Lutz. He's an expert on the economy. He's also the founder of Financial Survival Network, and you can go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com, a great resource if you want to learn a lot about contributing economists and things about the economy and what's going on. Again, that's financialsurvivalnetwork.com. All right, Kerry, the Dow's been experiencing some pretty high numbers, 20K plus since the president's been in there. And are these stock values true, or are they still inflated?
I felt they've been inflated for so many years now. The real economy the growth has not been there, but there's a lot of reasons for it. Turmoil in the rest of the world, in Europe, the potential breakup of the European Union, the demise of the euro has shifted a lot of funds over to the United States. I mean, look, if you've got $10 billion, you're a money manager in Europe, are you going to put your money in a European bank that could be gone tomorrow or is on the skids? Or are you going to put it in a United States bank where at least we've got the ability to print our way out of whatever disruptions occur? The ability of the system to sustain shocks, it's much better in the United States than in Europe and in Asia, even China. There's capital flight out of China. It's coming here, which is why the real estate markets have withstood this test of time. So it's a lot more a question of flow of funds from around the world than fundamental values of the underlying stocks. And then you've got central banks buying stocks around the world. The Swiss bank's doing it. The Japanese central bank is doing it. So you combine all these things, it's a lot more important, the flow of funds, than it is the actual underlying values. Then you throw in a dose of Trumphoria, as I call it, after the election, the hope of lower corporate tax rates, and combine that with lower regulation. And I do believe those two things will occur. And that's a pretty powerful recipe for higher stock prices.
Yeah, I was going to go there just a little bit. Do you think you'll get the 15% corporate tax cut, or down to 15%? You think you'll get it?
17.5%. He's a deal maker. There'll be a compromise. You know what they do. You know what their leading product in Washington is? It's sausage. You put it all in the machine and you grind the handle, and out comes the sausage. So 17.5. It won't be 20. It won't be 15. It'll be 17.5.
All right. We'll keep an eye on that. What do you think of the value of the dollar on the world currency? What do you think?
It's the jack in the box. Everybody was, and myself included, was expecting the demise of the dollar. So the world went short on the dollar. And the way they did it was by borrowing in dollars, making loans in dollars, and effectively going short in the dollar. Problem is, you got to pay back the loan in dollars, and there's a shortage in dollars, and you got to go scampering to buy dollars to pay back your loans in dollars. All of these currencies around the world are going down against the dollar, and it becomes a piling on effect. And I never saw it coming. I was shocked by it, and it's the best looking horse in the glue factory. All the other currencies are bad, worse than the dollar, and the dollar gets boosted up. And it's our whole financial system. All of these things, like I said, you're a European money manager. Where are you going to put your $10 billion and sleep soundly tonight? You're going to put it in Deutsche Bank, that's on the edge of collapse, or Banco Montepeschi, or are you going to put it in Citibank, knowing that the U.S. government or the Fed will print up untold amounts of money to keep those banks from going under?
All right, so we got to watch that. So that goes to the debt. We got to address this debt. And I don't know, that's going to be the argument against corporate tax cuts and everything else. How do you see the debt being addressed under the Trump administration?
Well, they're going to inflate some, and maybe they'll sell off assets. I mean, Trump has mentioned selling off federal assets. We got 70,000 buildings that the government owns, office buildings, or I don't know what kind of buildings they are, that they maintain that are empty. They own 45% of the state of California, 85% of the state of Nevada. You go down, they own all of these western states that they're doing pretty much nothing with. Maybe it's time to sell these places off. They're going to sell them off to the Chinese. I don't know who they're going to sell them to, but it's time to start doing a massive fire sale of federal assets. Maybe you sell off 10 trillion. I don't know what the answer is, but Trump seems to be favorably disposed to getting rid of the federal asset inventory. Tens of millions of cars, airplanes. I mean, they own all this stuff that they don't need, especially if they have a lot less employees working there. They're definitely not going to need it. I don't know the answer. Partially asset distributions, partly inflation, and better economic growth. Hey, if he can really accomplish 5-6% economic growth, which I'm skeptical of, I got to tell you, but hey, these companies start investing billions and billions, maybe there's a possibility that that the debt will go down or at least stabilize. Look, if we stopped adding debt tomorrow and really, started to pay it down a little bit,
what
probably be gone.
What is the risk for some of these countries that own our debt? I mean, if our dollar is going up, their currency is going down, and we start addressing our debt, where are they left in the deal?
Yeah, well, they've always been, it's always been a double-edged sword for them. They want a strong U.S. because then they don't have to defend themselves. They'll just count on the United States to do it. On the other hand, a too strong United States, and then their interests become subsumed by the United States. So they can't have their cake and eat it too. They gotta decide one way or the other. Trump is America first, and that scares the heck out of them. But do they want China first or Russia first? They better make their decision. They have to make up their minds about this. You know, the devil that you know is often better than the devil that you don't know. So they're going to have to throw in their lot with somebody. We made a lot of mistakes in the past. We made a lot of enemies in the past. Gunboat diplomacy, you know, somebody was about to default on their debt to the U.S., send in the ships. You know, that was a bad policy and didn't do us any good in Latin America and other parts of the world. You know, we have some amends to make.
Let me ask you this, Kerry. Only got a couple of minutes left. Some have said that if the United States focuses on self-sufficiency of energy, that not only will be the economic boom, but employment boom, which makes us unreliant upon foreign oil in other places. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's easier said than done. I mean, if we drive down the price of oil to $25 a barrel, you know, it starts, these companies become unprofitable. It drives the Middle East into obscurity. I'm skeptical of it. You know, it's a huge market, biggest business in the world other than foreign currency and debt transactions. I'm not sure how viable it is, but it will drive down the price of oil probably to the high 20s, mid 30s, potentially. You know, this is, you know, it's going to hurt Russia.
But he's looking at alternative, you know, we're looking at coal, we're looking at solar, we're looking at all of these other things. And of course, I guess our natural gas reserve has got to be huge. Doesn't that play in our favor?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Natural gas. I mean, you know, in Europe, it's $10, $15 per million BTUs. In Asia, it's 15. I mean, it's a huge advantage for the U.S. Yeah, it definitely pays to develop these resources. Hopefully, solar will eventually start to eclipse hydrocarbon-based energy sources. I mean, that is the goal, renewables, eventually.
One other last question before I let you go. I've got about a minute here. With your experience working directly with President Trump in the past, he appears to be genuinely driven to fix America. Is that a safe assumption that he really is passionate about fixing this place?
Oh, I think he's definitely sincere about it. You know, I've never had the discussion with him. We were just dealing with minor legal matters, so I can't really say what drives him, but I think he's sincere about it. I think he's got to get to the monetary system. That's the beast that that kind of drives all the other problems. The monetary system, the concept of the free lunch. Until you fix the monetary system, all the other problems have to persist. Obviously, that's on his table here, but you can't fix every problem all at once. You got to go to the most pressing problems and kind of work your way back and get to the base problem after the other ones have been fixed here. You know, you can't solve every problem at once, right?
No, and he's got his hands full these days with other legal problems. Hey, just quickly, drawing on your legal background, what do you think about the Ninth Circuit's move? I guess we're waiting for some kind of a termination today, but what do you think?
I'm going to be a contrarian on it. I'm going to say that they will strike down the Seattle Judge Robard's decision because the law is so clear-cut on this issue. They would like to strike down Trump's executive order, but the law is really clear-cut, and they will look like total buffoons and idiots if they do strike down the executive order. It's been done so many times before by so many different presidents. They don't have a choice but to uphold it. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, Trump's executive order will be upheld. I mean, Trump read the law. The law couldn't be any clearer on its face. So many laws are obscure and obtuse. This law couldn't be any clearer. The president's authority in this area is absolute, and no court can take it away from him.
Thank you, Kerry, for your time. Kerry Lutz, again, he's the founder of Financial Survival Network. You can go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Thank you, Kerry, for your time. God bless your family. Let's talk again soon.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.